What in the goddamn? The sensational hit RPG Planescape Torment? The one you promised yourself you'll definitely play one day. Next week, perhaps. I regret to inform you, that was 20 years ago. The truth is, you won't play this game. But don't worry, it's not a unique moral failing. Very few people do. The protagonist of Planescape Torment is an immortal being who existed for hundreds, possibly thousands of years. A man whose body regenerates, but the mind gets weaker with every death. And sometimes, death wipes his memory entirely, causing him to wake up as a different person, like what happened today. Planescape is a pen-and-paper campaign setting that encompasses the entire D&D multiverse, including Toril, the world where the events of Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights take place. The setting is heavily focused on Sigil, the hub of the multiverse, and the city which sits at the center of all things, the city by which all other cities are measured. It's a city of portals, a city of philosophers, and a city of secrets. The tale of Ravel Puzzlewell, Frightener of Children, begins and ends with a question. What can change the nature of a man? She posed this riddle countless times to those who approached her, hoping to uncover the strange magics she alone possessed. The price of a wrong answer was always some dreadful fate, each more horrific than the last. Only the why of the matter remained in question. Why was this so important to a hag from the Grey Waste?
You! What is it that brings you here? Have you come to see firsthand the misery you have wrought? Perhaps in death I still hold some shred of use for you, my love.
We wake up with no memory of who we are or even our name. Our body is covered with tattoos and scars. We wear strange clothes. This is a morgue. Adding to the confusion, the first individual to talk to us is a floating skull.
You playing corpse or you putting the blinds on the dusties? I thought you were a deader for sure.
That's Mort, our first companion, a fighter class. He speaks the language of the City of Doors. As we progress through the game, we learn more of this language, and that knowledge will pay off in the end. Deader means corpse, but we are certainly not a corpse. It seems our past self has anticipated the loss of memory, and we left instructions to ourselves carved into our body with a knife. Mort helpfully reads them to us. You need to center yourself. Among your possessions is a journal. Farad can fill you on the rest if he is not in the dead book already. We don't appear to have possessions. There is no sign of the journal. And whatever you do, do not tell anyone who you are. Read the journal, then find Farad. It will be a while before we achieve these goals. First things first, we need to escape the morgue, or the mortuary like it's called. This is where we are introduced to an important tormentism. Always agree to receive free surgery from complete strangers, especially older women. If we allow the blind tiefling doctor to operate on us, the nameless one receives a permanent HP boost. On the first floor of the mortuary, not far from the exit, stands a memorial to someone we once knew.
My love, you have returned to me.
Some of our past selves traveled with companions. One of them was a young woman named Deonara. To make this story more exciting, she looks into the future and tells us how it ends.
You shall meet enemies 3, but none more dangerous than yourself in your full glory. You shall come to a prison built of regrets and sorrow, where the shadows themselves have gone mad. There you will be asked to make a terrible sacrifice, my love. For the matter to be laid to rest, you must destroy that which keeps you alive and be immortal no longer.
Before we part ways, Deonara wants us to make a promise. Promise that we will return to save her or join her. Looks like we made it out just in time.
I grew up here. Not a pleasant childhood, mind you.
Sigil, also known as the Cage. the most cosmopolitan city in the multiverse, home of every sort of creature of every background: human, elf, Githyanki, Githzerai, angel, devil. Individuals who wander into the city by mistake, like by accidentally stepping into a portal somewhere in Faerun, are called clueless. The city exists within a torus-shaped structure. With no natural light sources, it's illuminated artificially. There is a day-night cycle. The brightest time of day is known as peak. Drinking water is provided via portals to the elemental plane of water. The plane of air takes care of ventilation. Sewage is dumped into the plane of fire. The place is maintained by the Dabus, a race of floating humanoids unique to Sigil. A mysterious being called the Lady of Pain rules the city of doors. She never speaks and refuses to be worshipped. This is the Hive, the slums, crime-ridden home of the destitute. A fallen Dabus named Fel runs a tattoo parlor here in the Hive. This is not the first time we visit this place. Yes, but I'm not permitted to tell your story. Why not? I apologize. I cannot. I cannot change the nature of a man. The words send a crawling sensation through our skull. The tattoos Fel sells provide powerful attribute boosts, with more options becoming available as the story progresses. This is an establishment frequented by the members of the Dustman faction. That's the people in charge of the mortuary. They collect and dispose of corpses and manage zombie labor. A faction is a community of individuals with a strong central belief. Factions are generally not about seeking political control of Sigil. The Lady of Pain will put a swift end to any such attempt. There are 5 joinable factions in the game, but only 3 of them have quest content. For that reason, it makes sense to join a faction even if you don't agree or even understand their ideology. This life is not real, says Dahl. This life is where we end up after we die, and here we remain, trapped, until we can achieve the true death. Speaking of making things dead, like all games on the Infinity Engine, Torment features real-time with pause AD&D combat. It's not usually described this way, but I think visually the combat is quite strong. The sprites are bigger and more detailed compared to the Baldur Gates and the Icewind Dales, and every companion has unique animations. Most character guides suggest prioritizing wisdom, intelligence, and charisma in that order. That's because Torment focuses heavily on conversations, and these attributes are frequently used in dialogue. The Nameless One starts as a fighter, but it's a good idea to switch to a mage as soon as you get an opportunity to do so. The key attribute for a mage is intelligence, and you should have plenty of that anyway. You can change your class by talking to a trainer, like old Mebeth the Midwife here in the Hive. And who might you be, I'm a traveler. Is that so? And where have you traveled from, then? From the mortuary. Dusties and fools. 2 words, same meaning. Me, I'm dusty. Me want to die 'cause this life fake. Sure, Mabeth will teach us the art, but first, we need to fetch her some herbs. The old woman gives us a sample, a black seed. It doesn't look like any herb we've seen before, and no one in the market has seen anything like it. How are we supposed to bring back a herb that doesn't seem to exist? Well, that's the first lesson Mabeth is teaching us. This is Sigil. Belief is everything. If you believe enough, anything is possible. And sure, once we concentrate, the seed cracks and grows into a barbed branch that wraps around our wrist. The spells are usually in a book, so the art demands you have a spell book. Can you read? I don't know. Let's test it then. Can you read this? Mabeth draws what seems to be an item identification spell. She then goes on to explain AD&D spell mechanics, and then the game switches our class to a wizard. Thanks for everything, Mabeth. Pa, you can thank me by not playing the Addle Cove with what you've learned. Now get along with ya. Addle Cove means idiot. So with the class business sorted out, it's time we reunite with our old friends.
Ah, the sorcerer. I have need of you. There are creatures that must die.
Once upon a time, a powerful sorcerer named Ignos attempted to burn down the hive. He was stopped by a joint effort of local wizards, who ended his killing spree by transforming him into a living conduit to the elemental plane of fire. A normal person would have been instantly incinerated, but not Ignos. He is still alive, stuck in a semi-coma, reveling in the never-ending flames coursing over his body. Ignos' new role is a tourist attraction and a lamp in the smoldering corpse bar. Ah, Tergerin, our old friend has returned to pay us a visit. Who are you? Ah, Ethelgrin, time has robbed our companion's memory. You honestly do not recall us, do you? Truly, I am aggrieved. As am I, Tergerin, truly aggrieved. Yet I rest easy. It has, after all, been many hundreds of years, and we know how minds of mortals tend to dissipate with age. Ah, well spoken. Old friend, we are a pair of Abishai, on leave from our assignments in Beator. I am Tergerin the Thrice Damned, so named for my ability to find the best in every situation. This is Ethelgrin, who has earned himself no special name, though not for the lack of trying. To understand the story of the Nameless One, you need to understand the Blood War, the most significant thing happening in the plains, a conflict ongoing since the dawn of sentient life. The Blood War is fought between two armies of evil, the Batazu of Beator and the Tanari of the Abyss. Abishai is a type of Batazu, a lawful evil creature characterized by sophisticated organization and discipline. The opposing side, the Tanari, have the numbers and the desire to devour the universe. We hold the Tanari directly responsible for the Blood War. The Celestial factions prefer to avoid interfering in the conflict, largely relieved that the war keeps both types of fiends occupied. Some say the Celestials may even secretly fuel the Blood War through arms deals and psyops, but these sort of claims are dismissed as baseless speculation, not grounded in facts. Fiends and devils remain the biggest job creators for mercenary companies across the plains. That is, despite the high mortality rates that battles in the Blood War bring. The Tanari are directly to blame for the multiverse's sad state of affairs. You can tell by the unique sprite that this person will end up joining the party.
Hail, traveler.
Dakon is an elderly Githzerai monk, or a Zerth. The Githzerai are a people who inhabit Limbo, a chaotic plane where mental concentration is required to keep matter stable, allowing Gith to shape entire cities with their minds. The monk is armed with a glowing sword that becomes stronger as its wielder gains a deeper understanding of theory. Dakon places a special emphasis on the word know. To him it signifies a combination of knowledge, strength of belief, and quality of organization. From the Zerth point of view, the city of Sigil lacks these features. It doesn't know itself, and in not knowing itself, its existence is flawed. Mechanically, he's a fighter mage multiclass, comes with an arsenal of unique Gith-themed spells. Now, knowledgeable people say that if someone could immerse the burning man in water for a few moments, he would come back to life. But there simply isn't enough water in the hive to make it happen. Back in the dusty bar, Seer the Skeptic explains that the man we seek, Farad, is one of the collectors, vermin that scavenge the bowels of the hive for the bodies to sell to the dustmen.
I can't find any daters. Maybe I could gut a Dusty.
This place is populated by the sort of individuals who seem underprivileged even compared to the Hivers, and the Hivers have nothing. The Trash Warrens are a series of underground corridors we have to navigate in order to reach the collector's home. But there is a shortcut. I take magical items from a chest, trigger a trap, and subsequently die.
Don't let it end like this. You have awakened.
The Nameless One wakes up in the buried village where the collectors live, which was our destination anyway. What are you doing? Ah! We startled the old woman who thought we were a corpse. Meet Marta the seamstress. Her job in the village is to prepare the bodies found by the collectors to be sold to the dusties. That means stripping them of anything valuable, like teeth. The number one rule of Planescape Torment is never turn down free surgery. If we ask Marta to operate on us, she will eventually find a +1 ring in our intestines. Gross. I'll take it. Farad's palace. That's the man we instructed ourselves to find. I have returned. Are the arrangements in order? Sound as stone they are. Not so much luck to be had with a bauble, however. Did you perchance know where it is below? The bauble. The sphere, corpse, the sphere. Have you... No matter. I'll find it. We learn about Farad's business model. Beneath the village lies a sprawling labyrinth of catacombs. The collectors steal corpses from the catacombs, sell them to the dustmen above, who then rebury them in the catacombs. Basically, it's an infinite money cheat. Deep within the drowned nations, there is a passage leading to the tomb of the Nameless One. The game temporarily disbands our followers while we explore this area. It's a navigation puzzle which requires us to die repeatedly, which would have been annoying with companions around. The stone tablets in the central room contain a journal of one of our previous incarnations. I have lost lifetimes because of my killer. I cannot deceive him. I tried to throw him off the scent. I left false bodies. I roamed the outer planes, hoping to use distance as a shield. I built this tomb filled with traps to try and kill the killer. I hid. All I bought was time. The final panel contains the same message we have tattooed on our back. Read the journal, then find Farad. To our surprise, there appears to be an extra line in the end. Don't trust the skull. We got the item Farad wanted. Corpse, such a gamble you were, and paid off handsomely you have. The truth is, in all terrible honesty, I know very little about you. Something is wrong. This creature is lying, but we lack the means to force the truth out of him. Perhaps to distract us from his uselessness, Farad suggests investigating the site of our death. The tiefling woman we've seen outside the mortuary.
Take off.
Anna, rose of my eye, this resourceful corpse needs to know where you found him.
Looks like the Dusties lost one of their deaders.
The entrance to the alley where she found our dead body is located near Fel's tattoo parlor. Anna is a fighter-thief multiclass who uses punch daggers. She also serves as a romantic interest, although that storyline is not exactly well developed. Previously, we opened locked containers by bashing locks and disarmed traps by stepping on them. Not anymore. Anna is a member of Free League, one of many anarchy-themed collectives in Sigil. Another such collective are Chaositects, or Chaos Men, an entertainingly crazy chaotic faction, hence the name. They are joinable, but this requires a chaotic alignment and brings almost no benefits. The battle against a horde of Chaos Men can be challenging if you are not ready for it. Good thing that back in the tomb we picked a consumable that casts the spell Cloud Kill, perfect for clearing rooms. So this is where our previous self was destroyed. You say you've met me before, Fel. Do you know how I died? Shadows. Many shadows. I cannot deceive him. I tried to throw him off the scent. I hid. All I bought was time. We hurry back to Farad. Anna is super upset, but then she quickly gets over it. On the body is the important-looking bronze sphere and a portal key to Farad's vault. No guardians and surprisingly little treasure inside. Perhaps he was lying about his wealth. Farad? Oh yeah, the Trash King. I struck a bargain with him. I needed the eyes and the hands of his men to scour the catacombs beneath Sigil for me. For the Bronze Sphere? It's just searching for it myself would have taken too long. Actually, he ended up tricking me into finding it for him. Why is it so important? Important? Do you not know? Do you have it with you? From a conversation with Fel, we learned that our previous party included Deonara, Dakon, a floating skull, and a blind archer. Deonara was a rich girl from the cleric's ward, but who was the archer? Xachariah the Fool was one of the first characters we met in the game, a zombie in the mortuary, but without the ability to talk to the dead, we had no way of communicating. So, it is I, Cutter, blessed be the powers. But you've changed. Have you been making poor choices again? Cutter is a general complimentary term. It's a lot better than calling someone a Burke. Power is a Sigillian word for a god, someone who draws energy from being worshipped. Everything was like a battle to you, and you were the most ruthless bastard I've ever met. Poor Deonara and her sobbing and pleading didn't sway you none. The Gith warning you about strategies, and Zachariah just trying to hold on when we hit the plains. And now I guess we're all in the dead book. Or in and out, so to speak. The sociopath incarnation made him sign a dead contract, and in the very end, as the blind archer lay dying, we stored some items inside his organs for our future self to retrieve. Poor Zachariah, you can rest now.
Hey, we're being watched, Chief. Just look natural. Casual.
Previously, about half of Sigil was arbitrarily locked, but now new areas have opened up. We can freely travel between the Hive, the Lower Ward, and the upper-class Clerk's Ward. Crime runs rampant in the Lower Ward. Our friend Mort gets kidnapped by were-rats in broad daylight. Tracking down the kidnappers ain't hard. They are in the house 2 screens away. Thank the powers you're here, Chief. Get me out. Mort is on a shelf with his new buddies. Come on, get me down before... Oh no, do not offend this blood, boss. Blood means expert. Someone knowledgeable. Why am I immortal? Your mortality was stripped from you by magical means, by the Night Hag, Ravel Puzzlewell. Ravel is an enigma, even among the Night Hags. Some would call her barmy, others say she plays a deeper game than any can see through. She's out of the reach of man now, thank the powers, for she was mazed by the Lady of Pain. Barmy means insane. Mazed? How do I find her? Mazes are like pocket dimensions, places between places. To reach one, you need to find a portal and a key.
Updated my journal.
So, the Lower Ward. The reason it's called the Lower Ward is because it contains many portals to the lower planes, the Hells. It's the industrial center of Sigil, filled with smog, steam, and sulfurous gases. Hey Mort, can you read to me what's tattooed on my back again? Alright. Do not tell anyone who you are or what happens to you. Read the journal, then find Farad. Go on. What does it say after that? What are you talking about, Chief? There isn't any more. What about don't trust the skull? Oh, that bit in the end? Well, I figured it was wash, so I didn't read that line out loud. Oh, really? Do you think it refers to you? I doubt it. I mean, you can trust me, right, Chief? Mort is still alive? Ha! Once a liar, always a liar. It takes a stronger mind than the skulls to give me the love, though. What's his game? What more does he have to lie about? It is of no matter. Let the skull have his secrets. They are worthless for us. At this stage, we have gained enough intellect points to handle this game's most famous side quest, and that is solving the mystery of the unbroken circle of Zerthimon.
Endure. In enduring, grow strong.
In his home plane of Limbo, the environment is shaped and maintained by mental concentration. So when Dakon lost his faith, the world around him literally fell apart. This was when the sociopath incarnation found him. We rescued Dakon, fully aware that Githzerai tradition would bind him to serve us until death. In his inventory, there is a small round stone disc called the Unbroken Circle of Zerthimon. It's a Zerth religious text, a collection of short stories conveying the philosophy of the founder of the Githzerai people. Let's see if we can make sense of them. Story 1 is about early history, when the minds of the people were divided. They didn't know themselves. This attracted the attention of the Illithid, and the people became slaves and livestock. Story 2 introduces Zerthimon, and in Story 3, his rebellion is already in motion. Captured by the Mind Flayers, Zerthimon endured the torture by moving his mind to the place pain could not reach. He then gave his gratitude to the Illithid, as was custom. Story 4 is about Vilquar, who betrayed his people to the Illithid Gigintaris, exposing dissenters in exchange for a reward. The reward, however, was having his brain devoured. Falsely believing the rebellion crushed, Gigintaris had no need for the traitor anymore. The 5th story tells of Gith, a warrior queen who inspired countless others. Even Zerthimon himself laid his blade at her feet. Building a rebellion is a collective effort. True power lies not just in knowing oneself, but in inspiring others to do the same. Rules for Githzerai radicals. The 6th story is a problematic one. After Gith's rebellion defeated the Masters, she wanted to continue the war, eradicating the Illithid across the multiverse and conquering other races. Zerthimon opposed this. Upon the blasted plains, he told Gith there cannot be two skies. In the wake of his words came war, forever dividing the people into the Githzerai and the Githyanki. And this is the reason Dakon had a crisis of faith. He divided your race when they were on the path to victory. I would like to think that this was because he wished to save the people from themselves, but I don't think you believe that. With enough points in intelligence, we can unlock the 7th and then the 8th circle. It teaches that without the enslavement and suffering, the rebellion would have never happened, and the people would have never come to know themselves. Perhaps the heretical thoughts were a necessary step on the journey to enlightenment.
In knowing the teachings of Zerthimon, I have become stronger.
This is a breakthrough. Dakon gets a massive stat boost. We gave his life meaning again. When we die, Dakon, it shall be the same death. It shall be the pronouncement of two deaths as one. We won't learn this until the very end, but the circle was created by the sociopath incarnation. By guiding Dakon to meditate on the stories, we help him believe in himself. Since belief shapes the planes, this strengthens Dakon. His Karak blade becomes sharper, and the Zerth becomes a more capable servant. Here's a curious detail. While most of the circle appears to be genuine, the final 2 chapters are written in a different style than the rest of the text. Instead of telling stories of Gith history, the circle, using guru language, instructs the reader to think smart thoughts basedly. Anyway, while we are here, we should reanimate the burning corpse with a decanter of endless water we found in the catacombs. Ignus calls us master and joins the party. Turns out we were the one who taught him magic, a previously unknown incarnation, one of the last great sorcerers. Ignus has an impressively min-maxed character sheet. He doesn't use weapons, but he has a ranged auto attack. The sorcerer can teach us his unique fire-themed spells, but the price of knowledge is a permanent HP reduction. For Ignus, learning means suffering. Well, child, sometimes one burns the art, and the other times the art burns you. We still have one vacant party slot, so let's take care of that.
Through observation, sensation, and experience, the truth of the multiverse shall be revealed.
Welcome to the brothel for slacking intellectual lusts. The prostitutes do not serve their patrons physically. Instead, they learn to identify with others so that they can better understand themselves and the planes. They are sensates. The Society of Sensation is a joinable faction whose members believe that the only way to truly understand the multiverse is by experiencing as much of it as possible through the senses. Lady Grace is the brothel's proprietor. If I may ask, the wings on your back, you're not human, I take it. She's one of the fiends, she is. Your companion is correct. I am a lesser Tanari, more specifically a succubus. Most of my race spend their time seducing mortals with various pleasures of the flesh.
Updated my journal.
Before joining us, Grace asks that we speak with her student prostitutes. Through these conversations, we can gain valuable insights into the lore of the planes and, occasionally, trigger the resurfacing of an old memory. We are in a grand hall filled with elegantly dressed elites. A formal ball is underway. Before us is a well-dressed fellow who wears a golden medallion with a symbol of the Sign of One. The Signers are a faction focused on individualism and the power of imagination, believing that the self is the source of all things. The two of us stand in the circle of onlookers who gathered to listen to our debate. But that's impossible, the man is perplexed. Oh, but it is. I've made several inarguable points and given you a number of examples. You simply don't exist. But you can't. Were I to accept that, yes, you would cease to exist. And without a flash of light or a puff of smoke, with no fanfare of any sort, the man was gone. Grace is this game's sole cleric companion. With the exception of Under Sigil and one other optional dungeon, this part of the game has almost no combat. Cleric's Ward is 4 hours of point-and-click adventure, with focus on finding items and figuring out how to use them. You get to talk to dudes with names like Abel Ponderthought. It's almost whimsical. This wizard is a chocolate enthusiast who will trade information on how to reach the mazed hag Ravel in exchange for rare chocolate you can buy at Vrishika's store. Well, fall from grace, or whatever it is you call yourself now. Truly a pleasure to see you here. I thought you rarely trafficked among our kind anymore. Or is your assignment here almost finished? Vrishika is an Alu fiend, a half-demon. Her mother was a Tanari, and her father was a great leader of men. She sees Grace as a traitor to her kind. You must understand, the best temptress is one that can make you buy into the illusion of being both promiscuous yet virtuous at the same time. A prostitute priestess, as it were. And Mistress Grace is among the greatest. Are you not? That is enough. I'm about to embark on a political vision quest. The believers of the Source, or Godsman, believe that anyone has a spark of divinity within them. Anyone can become a power if they pass the test that is life. The Factotum instructs us to use the Forge to craft an item, testing our ability to make the potential actual. In the armory, the Godsman engineers are busy with a secret project, which seems to be some sort of a siege cannon. I apologize. I am both contractually and magically bound not to speak of this in the hearing of certain manifestations, shall we say, of belief. My apologies, Lady Grace. What does that mean? She can't speak about it in the presence of fiends. I would speculate that since she's been bound contractually, that means it's a project of law, and since she has been bound to it magically, it's likely Ba Tezu in origin. In a different conversation, Grace mentions that our friend Mort has a distinct Beator smell. We should investigate this, but not before we learn how the afterlife works in the planes.
I am both happy and completely miserable. Without the happy part.
This is the Civic Fest Hall, headquarters of the Sensates. Alongside Mark Morgan's excellent work, the soundtrack features 2 pieces by Richard Band, the themes for the Smoldering Corpse Bar and the Fest Hall, adding much-needed emotional variety to the score. Death It is what awaits you at the end of life's journey. Death is not an end, but a beginning. The sensate lecturer named Death's Advocate explains the metaphysics of life and death in the planes. After an individual dies, they become a petitioner, and what happens afterwards depends on what kind of person they were in life. If you've been a goodly sort of gentleman, steadfast in charity and goodwill toward your fellow bloods, perhaps the slopes of Mount Celestia shall house you when you die. Boring. And perhaps you have lived a life of bloodthirsty evil, laying others low and doing as you pleased without a care for who you hurt. In that case, you go to one of the hells, Beator or Abyss, where you will serve in the Blood War. So, Mort, what about that Beatorian smell you have? What would you know about what Beator smells like? Unless... Hey, you've been talking about me with a Tanari, haven't you? It's like this. Somewhere on Avernus, the first layer of Beator, there is a pillar of skulls. If, in life, you were a scholar who hoarded knowledge but spread lies that led to others' deaths, then in the afterlife, you become one of the skulls in the pillar. Well, and when I died, I ended up there. Funny, huh? Not really. Yeah, you're right, it's not funny at all. I'm thinking that maybe I bent the truth once or twice, and maybe that led to someone getting penned in the dead book sooner than they should have. It was me, wasn't it? Yeah. Mort doesn't know exactly what he did. When you die, you lose your memory. He doesn't remember what his life was before he woke up on the pillar. He simply knows it to be true. A very long time ago, he told us a falsehood, and it led us to Ravel and to our present condition. Mort was rescued from the pillar by one of our incarnations, and he was traveling with us ever since, for what seems to be a lifetime. Mort, why didn't you say something when we were at the mortuary? Because I never know who are you going to be. Some of your incarnations have been stark raving mad. One time you awoke obsessed with the idea that I was your skull and chased me around the spire. Luckily you were crushed by a passing cart in the street. I see. Thanks for coming clean, Mort.
Updated my journal.
As a reward for finishing the arc, he gets massive stat upgrades. We can formally join the Sensates, but it's not necessary. We simply need to remind them that we are already a member. In our old room, we find a journal belonging to the Paranoid incarnation. It's barely coherent, speaks of the others who are trying to steal his body, and of a hag that keeps haunting his dreams. I no longer wish to live like this. The journal provides a crucial detail. One of our previous selves commissioned the Godsman to create a portable portal to Ravel's maze. That's our way in. What follows next is a plane-hopping adventure. It will be a while before we return to Sigil.
Experience has increased my skills.
Let's go meet our... maker.
I shall wait for you in Death's halls, my love.
I am not afraid. Not of the likes of you, ragged thing. Weak Ravel may be, but a few tricks has Ravel learned over the years, and I have known you would come.
Looks like Ravel made herself at home in a lady's prison. There is a motif to her magics. Plants, branches, barbs. You can tell something is Ravel's just by looking. The hag tends to her creations, absent-minded and unaware of our presence.
You were gone so long, I feared you forgot poor, lonely Ravel.
How could I forget you, Ravel, but you hid yourself in a place that was difficult to reach? Come now, did you not wish my company? We know this ain't true. Ravel did much to help us. She tended to our wounds in the mortuary. She showed us hospitality in the buried village. She taught us magic in the hive. Hundreds, possibly thousands of years ago, we challenged the hag to solve an impossible problem. She agreed. Ravel thought we were beautiful. She fell in love. The dialogue allows us to compliment her sharp mind and inner beauty. She, doesn't take it well. Think you ugly I am? Ravel, you are not ugly. My shape is but water to my will. Yes. Ravel, you're being super weird. Please stop. We can ask her to teach us some of that unique magic. Does Ravel know the art? I have forgotten more of the art than you shall ever know. But enough of our questions, she says. Ravel has a question for us.
In knowing the teachings of Zerthama,
Not a good time, Dakon.
What can change the nature of a man?
What can change the nature of a man? The hag loved puzzles, and this question was our payment to her for immortality. Now, the metaphysics, the structure of reality of the Planescape setting, is different from that of the real world. She is not asking what can change a person in real life, what's intrinsic and what is learned, that sort of thing. Ravel will accept any answer you believe in. Belief shapes existence. Old Mabeth taught us this. Whatever you believe can change the nature of a man. This is why she killed countless others who attempted to answer her question. Instead of speaking from their own belief, they tried telling her what they thought she wanted to hear. Regret. Is that your answer? It may not be your answer, but it is my answer. And that is all I wished for, my precious man. It is an exam on one of the key ideas of the setting. So you took my mortality from me. Is it still intact? Yes. The ritual worked, but great were the costs. When we die, a random person is killed in our stead. They then become a shadow and roam the multiverse to take revenge on their creator. Our mortality is a sentient entity that exists somewhere in the planes. Ravel doesn't know where it is, but she knows someone who does. An angel trapped in Cursed, the city of traitors. You have done me a great service, beautiful Ravel. We notice that Ravel's black vein dyes have taken on a predatory fire. You are not going to let me leave, are you? Know that you will stay here until the end days in my garden, never to leave, and you shall love me as you were meant, as you promised. So, the battle.
Attend me, my pets.
She summons animated tree servants, but some of them switch to our side because we know her art. The strategy is simple. Get rid of her minions and then bombard Ravel with spells until the hag is defeated. It seems the maze is more of a fortress than a prison. As soon as she falls, it gets invaded by shadows. Time to go.
Off with you. Dead I am.
Then Death's kingdom has sealed its gates to us both. Arise, crone.
Shh. Away with you. I'm dead, and no traffic with the living may I have.
I care little for how you die, but I warn you for the last time. Arise, or I shall slay you where you lie.
He is never formally introduced, but you already know who and what this is.
I had thought that dying at his hand would fulfill the requirements the past put forth.
You cannot have thought that one would have a chance. You were indulgent to let him think he was successful.
Powerful this incarnation is. And kill me he could have, but for a few tricks I possess. Fortunate was I.
Fortune abandoned you the moment I found you. Has your life prepared you for what is to come, hag?
I am not afraid. Not of the likes of you, ragged thing. Weak Ravel may be, but a few tricks has Ravel learned over the years, and I have known you would come.
Ravel had no intention of killing us or having us stay in her garden. She loved us. She thought that by dying, she could break the ancient spell.
No longer shall you trouble existence with your presence, witch.
Cursed is a prison town filled with betrayers in words and deeds. We must take care and watch each other.
The Outlands is a neutral plane at the center of the Great Wheel. It's where Sigil is located. Cursed is what they call a gate town, a settlement built around a portal to one of the outer planes, in this case, the prison plane of Carcery. It seems the designers weren't entirely sure what to do with this location. We complete a series of loosely connected quests, all tied by a common theme of betrayal, before being transported to the dungeon below. The dungeon you could have accessed at any time anyway. But this is not a major complaint, as the story really picks up and you probably don't want to get bogged down doing side activities. I want to talk about something else. The reason the original Us sought immortality from Ravel is because of a terrible crime he committed. His actions were so grievous that he was destined for hell to fight in the Blood War. But what is it exactly so bad with fighting in the Blood War? We can become a hero, save the multiverse from the insatiable Tanari horde. Maybe the Blood War is how we redeem ourselves. We could team up with our buddy Targaryen the Thrice Damned. Perhaps we can help Athelgrin earn his special name. Unfortunately, this is not how it works. As we've learned in the Fest Hall, when a person dies, they become a petitioner. A petitioner to the Hells is called a soul larva. And it's exactly what you think it is. Soul larva is food and currency in the lower planes. It's used to manufacture shock troops and even new fiends in rare instances. You can also use it to make liquor and perfume. Anyways, it's important to understand this. You will not be a cool Abishai after you die. You will spend the afterlife as a gross worm. This suit of Mercy Killer armor has stood untouched in the prison beneath Cursed for years. The person inside died a long time ago, but he doesn't seem to be bothered by this fact.
The hand of justice shall not be stayed.
Valor is a Sigillian ghost cop who loves his job a little too much. Know this, there is nothing on all the planes that can stay the hand of justice when it is brought against them. It may unmake armies, it may sunder the thrones of gods. I see. No, you do not see. Pray, you never will. When Valor speaks of justice, he isn't referring to an abstract concept, but rather to a being he believes will grant him the power to correct any injustice. And since belief shapes reality, I'm sure some of you are asking yourselves, is this belief thing just an excuse to avoid doing world building? Is Planescape actually stupid? Yeah, well, we'll come back to this conversation, but for now I will note that contrary to what we were taught, most beings who inhabit the planes seem to lack any sort of transformative power.
Updated my journal.
Mechanically, Valor is a badass fighter who uses axes. Of course, it was us who put him in the cell, but he doesn't remember. Must have lost the memory when he died. Meet Trias the Condemned, once a general to the host of the upper planes, now languishing in a fetid bubble below the most wretched of gate towns.
What is it you wish of me, mortal? Speak your mind, and leave me to my memories of paradise.
Angels are powerful celestial entities of lawful good alignment. Kind and compassionate, they never lie. The stench of Beator lies thick about you, Skull. You don't smell any better. What are your views on the Blood War, Lord Trias? My lords direct the war from afar, manipulating the Fiends into costly battles, giving them weapons and filling their minds with knowledge of how to hurt each other more effectively. Look, the politics of the Angel military-industrial complex is very upsetting, but can we get to talking about my problem? Trias says there is one individual who might help us, a fiend living in exile elsewhere in the Outlands. Certainly unchaining the Angel imprisoned beneath the City of Traitors won't have repercussions down the line.
A Tanari in my home? Of all the indignities, why don't you invite your whole filthy species in?
Once an advocate in Beator, Fugil was tricked by Trias into signing a contract that forces him to perform good deeds. Banished by his fellow Fiends, he now hides beneath the skeleton of Ulgoris. Ugh, the fetid stench of a Tanari. Can't you find some fumes or acidic vapors to try and drown your scent? Phah, I'll never get the Tanaric stench out of the place. An intrinsically evil creature, he hates having to do good. The contract with Trias brings Fugil immense misery. Come in, please, my home is your home. Why don't you invite all the rest of your abyssal harpies? I will take your suggestion under consideration. Phah! Years of service as an advocate in fairness, painstaking detail and organization. I never questioned my superiors. I did all that was asked of me. I punished those below me with the cruelest and the most inventive punishments when they failed. Then, one slip, and it all comes crashing down. Stupidity is a sign of weakness. There is no injustice in an advantage seeker being taken advantage of. Fugil examines our tattoos. The violence is nearing acceptable levels, but the scars are applied with almost Tanari crudity, without any care for maximizing the pain of the recipient. Human art makes me ill. Is Advocate Infernus implying that we Tanari are a crude people? The Tanari beasts want to strip law and order from the face of evil. Inexcusable. Intolerable. I cannot... Many Tanari philosophers would argue that the Ba'Tezu are no less excused for excising passion from violence, excising passion from the very essence of evil. And thus the old debate continues, which is the greater evil? Efficient evil or passionate evil? This is fascinating, but we came here to learn the location of our mortality. As I was saying, I recall hearing something about a place called the Fortress of Regrets. How do I get there? I am pleased to inform you that I do not know. Fugil smiles widely. He is the happiest person in the multiverse. No, I cannot help you. Oh, how I long to say these words. But we already know where to go to learn about the fortress. Riddle me this. Where is the largest gathering of scholars in the plains? Avernus, the first layer of Beator, the towering, pulsating abomination formed from the heads of those who once possessed knowledge but chose to tell lies. Chief, listen, I can't let that thing see me. You! It's been a long time. Oh no. Before we get to respond, a section of the pillar trembles and a familiar-looking face emerges. Anna, my darling child, is that you? Duh? What are you doing in this place? I was wrong, my dear girl, about the sphere. I beg you, lovely Anna, save your poor father. Save me. Oh, please save me. His head sinks back into the pillar. Farad's vault contained no treasure, because the real treasure was the knowledge he was hoarding. Desperate to escape death, he believed the bronze sphere held the secret to immortality. And he was right. Let's do what we came here to do. How do I reach the Fortress of Regrets? But the answers don't come free. Where does the fiend Fugil Forktongue reside? Telling a believable lie to an amalgamation of the greatest liars requires passing a very hard charisma check. Fugil has hidden himself well in a demiplane of a long-dead sorcerer's devising. He appears only occasionally in Sigil, and that's where I met him. The pillar seems satisfied. Only 3 have known the way into the fortress. The first one was you. The second lies beyond the portal and shall not emerge. The third one you have already met, but they shall not help you. There is one Chekhov's gun in the story that hasn't gone off yet. Trias. Yes, though we know him by his full name, Trias the Betrayer. We should hurry back to the Outlands. Stop! Give us the skull! He is ours! He shall not leave Avernus! The screams attract the attention of the Ba'Tezu. It's your time to shine, Valor. You get him way too late. Valor has very little to do in this game. Tell me about Trias. He's a deceiver, mortal, and you should trust him in nothing. I mean this, of course, with all due charity and kindness. His deception has cost me an eternity, unless he should die. Fugil is hopeful. The town of Cursed is gone, pulled through the gate into Carcery. This is known to happen to gate towns when the population commits enough acts of good or evil to shift its alignment. No doubt this has to do with the betrayer being free. Oh well, onwards to the prison of the gods. Most portals leading to Carcery are one way. In order to escape this place, one needs to be stronger than that what exiled them. That's the rule. As you can see, Cursed in Hell is barely different from normal Cursed.
What do you hope to accomplish here?
He is standing at the top of the city administration building, watching the town below getting devoured by demons. Trias has a very low opinion of mortals and their ability to change for the better. Nothing can change the nature of a man. Justice has long sought you, Deva. Yield! The angel summons infernal allies, but they are the weakest type of fiend, so I basically just ignored them. And at last, we can put all those level 9 spell scrolls we've been saving to good use.
My imprisonment has weakened me. In my state, I am no match for you.
Trias, even if you were in your full glory, you'd be no match for me. After we promised to spare his life, he finally reveals that the portal to the fortress lies within the Taurus above the spire, in the city of Sigil, in the place where the dead are taken. Funny, Trias never lied to us outright. He simply chose not to share some critical details. I promised to spare his life, and I will keep my word. However, Valor made no such vow. You are merciful and weak. Steal your heart before the disease spreads. With the angel dead, Fugil's contract is void.
I am freed! Freed!
The town of Cursed proved itself to be stronger than Trias. Perhaps we should do what the sociopath incarnation did. Create a contingency, a plan B. Leave instructions for other incarnations, in case we don't make it.
No, that is no longer possible. I have ended the lives of all that have guided you to this place. You led me to all of them. You have allowed me to hide my presence forever.
We are finally back in Sigil. Time for some last-minute shopping.
Done.
Fel the Dabus now offers powerful late-game tattoos. We will spend all our money on these and on healing items. The Golem Cox Metal is Iron Given Purpose, an enemy of the multiverse, servant of entropy, admirer of Ravel and the Blood War. Same. Once we provide him with a drop of our blood, he forges the Blade of the Immortal, a weapon capable of permanently killing us. A good item to have in the endgame, but far from necessary. Old Mebeth looks ill. She is unraveling. I wasn't sure if you would be here, Mebeth, after what happened. It is the way of the plains that my few acts of kindness should be the death of me. But maybe not all is lost. One of my black barbed seeds from the maze. Did ya bring one with ya? We did. So the unity of rings is served. She places a paper-thin kiss upon our forehead, and when we open our eyes, she is gone. May the plains receive you kindly, Mebeth. The unity of rings is one of the principles of the world of Planescape. Many things in the planes are circular, coming back around to where they started. Mebeth gave us a black seed, which we carried to Ravel's black barbed maze, and in the end we returned the seed to the midwife, completing her story arc in a perfect circle. A storytelling heuristic disguised as a universal law. Another such heuristic is the rule of threes. Mort explains what it is. Well, the rule of threes is one of those laws about the planes, about things tending to happen in threes. Everything is composed of 3 parts, there is always 3 choices, and so on. It's a writing principle. 3 is the smallest number of elements required to create a pattern. The mind loves recognizing patterns, and when it does, it assigns special significance to information presented this way. It was clever desire of the authors of the pen and paper game to make the principles of effective storytelling into laws of the universe. See, Planescape isn't dumb. It's kind of ingenious, actually. So, let's make this all worth it.
How dare you come to this place, my home, again? You have overstepped yourself.
It is said that the fortress was brought into being by the overwhelming regret felt by the original incarnation. This doesn't seem to be true. It was clearly brought into being by craftsmen. Potential was made actual. There is intention in its design. It resembles a starship adrift in the negative material plane. Deonara is standing vigil in the fortress exterior. The Dustmen believe that emotions tether you to this false existence, and in a sense they are right. The sociopath incarnation intentionally brought Daedrana along, fully aware that her profound love for him would anchor her spirit to the fortress, making her a useful source of intelligence. In order to progress the plot, we must evade the shadows and activate the mysterious ancient machines.
The Githzerai.
Each machine shows a cutscene in which the entity kills our companions one by one.
I may be bested in battle, but I shall never be defeated.
So be it.
This is not a place meant for the living.
The Tanari.
Full from Grace carefully examines the entity from all sides, like a scientist.
You have done enough harm. Prepare yourself.
I can forge planes with my power. I can unmake you.
The twist is that there is nothing whatsoever wrong with Grace. She doesn't end up being a spy for Beator. She never betrays you. She doesn't lie. She doesn't scheme. Grace is exactly what she said she was. A sensate. And a friend. Clicking all the machines opens a portal to the next trial. The Sorcerer. This is the big reactivity moment. If you have been a goodly sort of gentleman, steadfast in charity and goodwill toward your fellow bloods, then you will battle Ignus in the fortress. But if you've lived a life of bloodthirsty evil, contemptuous of your fellow man, laying others low and doing as you pleased without a care for who you hurt, then you'll face Valor, and probably restart the game, as Valor is extremely tough. Depending on how you play your cards, this might be the final battle of the game, so we unload the rest of our level 9 arsenal. Feels like this should have done more damage. Appropriately, he goes down to one of Ravel's black spells.
Master, forgive me. I have betrayed your teaching.
The trials are not over. Whatever we touched within the fortress brought other pieces of us to the surface. He has awakened. Finally! I thought I would die again, waiting for him to rise. Perhaps you will still die. Have a care how you speak to me, you deranged wreck.
You shall meet enemies 3.
The sociopath, or the practical incarnation, was one of the main characters in this story. He did all the side quests. He built the tomb, gathered a SEAL Team 6, the Zerth, the Ghost, Blind Archer, Mort. He was the one who tattooed the instructions on our back. This incarnation was ultimately defeated in the fortress, but it looks like fate has now given him another chance. If he can possess our body, he will live again. It's a mental duel, a staring contest. But I was ready for this. All my relevant stats are maxed. Enough with your 4-dimensional checkers! The reason we never found that journal is because it was destroyed by the subsequent Chud Carnation, the unstable one, born with a soul damned to hell for deeds he had no part in, thanks to the arbitrary and unjust system of powers that rule the planes. At least we had our friend Mort to guide us. He spent his life being afraid. He doesn't want this existence. You show him just a bit of kindness and he surrenders. The good incarnation was never our enemy. He has been quietly helping us all this time. When we experience a resurfacing of old memories, he was the one making it happen. So it's possible that the first of us, the original, might still be buried somewhere in my mind. The expression on the incarnation's face flickers. We suddenly realize who it is we are speaking to. It is regret that may change the nature of a man. But it was too late. I was already damned. I found that changing my nature was not enough. There is no need for a staring contest. He merges with us willingly.
I feel stronger.
We gain his memories, including the knowledge of how to unlock the Bronze Sphere, a repository of our final moments before meeting Ravel in the Grey Waste and asking her for the impossible. We open the sphere and learn our real name. That was my name all along, but if I was no longer nameless, we receive an incredible 2 million experience points. This room is a trap impossible to escape from. We made a promise to save Deonara, but in the end, it is she who will be saving us. We take her hand, and the Ghost Lady leads us to the fortress roof, where we'll confront our adversary.
I shall wait for you in Death's halls, my love.
Are they dead? Yes. Unlike you, they have but one life. And they wasted it for your sake.
The Transcendent One, the being Ravel separated from us. You can tell something is Ravel's just by looking. The musical theme is a more assertive version of the protagonist theme. Our mortality hated being part of us and embraced the separation. It took no joy in killing our followers, but it had to be done. The entity cannot exist without the Nameless One. If we are destroyed, so is it. The Shadow's purpose was never to kill us, but to make us forget, so that the halls of this fortress are silent again. One way or another, this ends with us merging with our mortality. But there are several ways of reaching that goal. We can fight it, we can force it to merge by threatening to kill ourselves using the Blade of the Immortal, or, I love this one, by threatening to believe ourselves out of existence. My preferred solution is to use facts and logic to convince it to join voluntarily. Every time we die, the entity grows weaker, and eventually, oblivion awaits us both. We must merge to live. Know that I have always hated you. When we are one, I will continue to hate you. So if we are cast low, then you shall know the pleasure of my suffering. There shall be no future for us. We shall go on to further torments. Then we shall confront these torments together, and we shall defeat them. Our past lives, the original incarnation, the entity from the fortress, now we are all these things, the master of life and death. Turns out Mort was just pretending to be dead. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm already dead, and, Chief, what happened to your voice? We are talking in a booming voice like the Transcendent One. I am something else now. Time runs short, and soon the fate will catch up with me. I will return you to Sigil. What, return me? What about you? Come on, Chief, I may be a coward, but there is no way I'm leaving you in this place. You may not go where I will soon be. Well, I could go with you anyway, Chief, if you wanted me to. I mean, we've been through work. Not this time. Perhaps one day we'll meet again on another plane, but not now. We bring back the tiefling girl. Anna looks like she's about to say something, but then falls silent. I do not need your words to know your heart, Anna. The Githzerai.
I have paid off with mine.
Your debt is settled. You are free. There is a fan theory that the Nameless One's true identity is Zerthimon, the founder of the Githzerai people. Come on, they are not even the same species. The Tanari. My punishment calls. I will return you to Sigil. That is not my wish. I will find you. Keep thinking of me, and we shall meet again. Valor, the hand of justice is swift, and it's coming for me now. Justice is a teacher in your punishment. Find strength through punishment. You will achieve perfection. And know that should you escape your sentence, I shall find you, Nameless One. The common reading of this story is that it's about a man who accepts his fate and tries to atone for what he has done. I don't believe what we are shown in the cutscene is our character's death. He doesn't resemble a spirit, he looks kinetic, and he clearly still has his memory. It seems we are banished to the lower planes. Early in the story, we met a pair of Abishai who seem to have known us for, quote, many hundreds of years. When we exit Fugil's house for the first time, the game plays this little cutscene.
Something familiar about that one.
He clearly knows us, but we met such a long time ago, the immortal creature forgot. This aligns us with Beator. In the fortress, we have absorbed the skills of other incarnations, including the original. That's many lifetimes of experience. We have then merged with the entity capable of forging planes with its power. We are wearing Raveltech power armor. As a result of the unnatural experiment, much damage was done to the planes. We will set things right by fighting in the Blood War, which is sort of a pillar of the multiverse. If the legions of demons were not busy fighting each other, they would overwhelm the planes. So keeping the Blood War going is very important. This is Scenario A. The no longer nameless one spends thousands of years blasting fiends in the lower planes as penance. This reading challenges what you can call the sentimental interpretation of Torment, which states that regret is this story's dominant emotion. If you think about it, the original's plan worked. Ravel successfully extended his lifespan by 1,000 years. After enduring a series of torments, he eventually became a super powerful being, and now he will serve the planes as an equivalent of the Doomslayer. I am not locked in here with you, you're locked in here with me. But that's just one scenario. Maybe we don't survive the war. Maybe we die. Scenario B. In this case, he would lose his memory and become a soul larva, a worm. Life would revolve around avoiding being eaten by other worms. Sooner or later, a fiend or a hag would pick him up, either to trade as currency or process into useful items. We will become a roll of toilet paper for the army of Demon Hitler. It suddenly makes a lot of sense why the original risked so much to cheat death. Yet, not all larvae are equal in value. Scenario C. 1 million fiends die every day on the battlefields of the Blood War. In rare cases, powerful soul larvae can be used to create new fiends. Sometimes, multiple larvae must be combined to form a single creature. Perhaps this is our fate. To become a Cornugon like Fugil. Grace demonstrates that even an inherently evil being can change its nature, so at least there is that. But will we remember our friends? The game is inconsistent on how memory works after death. Farad seemed to have kept his memory after he ended up on the pillar, but Mort didn't. On the other hand, he still remembers he did something bad to us specifically. It's like an echo of a memory. Maybe the writers forgot. The dialogue in the end seems to weakly support scenario A. Our companions are under the impression that they will be able to find us again.
I know that you must die.
Deyonara's speech in the beginning supports scenarios B and C. She accurately predicts the future and says that we must die.
Well, you still can.
Which scenario do you prefer? Personally, I like the idea of the Nameless One constantly bickering with his own mortality through internal dialogue. That sounds like a fun game. It's called Disco Elysium. So that was Planescape Torment, a pillar of the culture. Modern audiences don't really care about this game. The enhanced edition did numbers comparable to the enthusiast RPG The Age of Decadence, made using Saddam Hussein-era technology. But that's probably not a moral failing of the Zoomer race. Torment has problems. Let's talk about some of them. Problem 1. The developer is overcommitted to certain ideas that are simply not very good. Here is a list of themes and motifs from the first 8 hours of the game. Dead people, gray things, grayish-brown things, colorlessness, mental disability, organ harvesting, skeletons, rats. For many individuals, this game was an ambassador of the Planescape setting, and this is what they think Planescape is about. I promise you, it is not. Sigil doesn't have to be a sewer level. An adventure in the plains doesn't have to be about digging through trash. Seriously, I think Torment might have ruined this setting for a lot of people. Problem number 2. The strength of this game's writing is its ideas. The weakness of this game's writing is bloat. There are tons of memorable characters and quotable lines, and I like that even characters introduced in the later parts of the game get some development, like Fugil or Valor. Unfortunately, much of the drama is deflated by the game's tendency to use twice as many words as necessary. In the conversations with Farad, the descriptive text will keep reminding you that he is old. There is no need to do this, I can see him, I know that he is old. Yes, Fugil, I get it that you don't like the Tanari. You don't need to repeat a variant of the same line 3 times in a row. And sure, let's spend the first 15 minutes of the game reading plot-irrelevant text dumps, describing the miscellaneous zombies in the morgue. These days, there seems to be a greater understanding that a player's attention is a valuable and a limited resource that should be spent sparingly. Since most of the game isn't voice-acted, removing the bloat wouldn't have been too difficult. This could have been addressed in the enhanced edition, but it wasn't.
Did you see that?
Problem 3. Combat. It's not great. Planescape Torment has all the individual components of a good combat system, but they were never put together correctly. My favorite combat-related factlet is that the game has unique portraits for characters under the influence of status effects, but I suspect many fans of the game might not even realize that this feature exists, because the enemy NPCs almost never use crowd control spells. But when the game is trying, it works really well, like the battle against a wizard in the mausoleum, or the battle against a swarm of flying creatures in the catacombs, or the fight against a harmonium squad in Cursed, where you have to protect an innocent person. The issue here is encounter design. This could have been addressed in the enhanced edition, but it wasn't.
How many times must this fool die?
If you are a goodly sort of gentleman, steadfast in charity and goodwill toward your fellow bloods, consider supporting this channel on Patreon. Patron credits, and then we'll talk about other Planescape games. Special thanks to Jim Lawrence, Tony Spagoni, a 2-room apartment in Bobruisk, Belarus, Ezek Tserve, Madapasta, Dmitry Yu, Azazel and Baneful the Doggo, Haim Rovan, I Feed My Parrot Chicken, Frog, Front Stab, Snafu, E-Girl666, Quattro Bagina, Rayners, Torment, Billy Strayhorn, Danny Kilpatrick, Ganso Bomber Motherfucker, C6, Sylvain Pascu, Dark Butt Pumpkin, Mopo, Celtic, Arkelis, Ilya Rubin, Yuri Solodovnichenko, and Maciej V. So, Other Planescape products. Planescape the Shaper of Dreams is a single-player campaign consisting of 6 chapters. The first half takes place in Faerun, the second in Sigil and in the Abyss. It is recommended you play as a human or a half-elven woman. The story works better this way. The game is a free module for Neverwinter Nights 2. The developer, Feline Fueled Games, is a German indie studio. They made a bunch of modules for BioWare games, and this is one of them. The Shaper is not very well known, possibly because the later chapters were never translated to English and are in German only. While we are on the subject of Neverwinter 2, Sigil the City of Doors is a Planescape persistent world made with Neverwinter 2 toolset. The server population is low, but the website was last updated in 2024. At the time of writing, it's not dead. I played it for about a week early in the year. The server runs a heavily modded version of Neverwinter that features the biggest selection of races and classes I've ever seen in a video game. Play as a dragon, play as a rat, play as whatever. There is single-player content, but this is a multiplayer game, best played with friends and a DM. Make sure you'll join their Discord server if you'll be trying this out. So this is cool. However, the real star of the show, and the reason we've been learning the Planar language, is a different multiplayer game. This one is based on Neverwinter Nights 1, and confusingly, it's also called Sigil, and it's also a persistent world. Sigil Planar Legends might be the best existing interpretation of the Planescape setting. There is an active community. You always need to be in character. The RPG system in this is D&D 3 with house rules. I enjoyed playing a Blackguard, which is now a base class. Neverwinter 1 is more technically competent, and IMO, it also looks better than the sequel. To access the server, you fire up a copy of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition and double-click on Sigil in the server browser, and then wait for it to download the required files. Cranium rats are a species of vermin that become more intelligent the more of them are in close proximity to each other. One cranium rat alone is but a nuisance, but 5, 10 or more, and their intelligence grows until it surpasses even the intelligence of one such as myself. I imagine that 2 or 3 cranium rats might be enough to outwit you, sir.